Hello everyone, my name's Tara Phillips and I'm from Altum HR Consultancy in Altrincham and Greater Manchester. Part of my role is supporting caring, working and living projects, but also we support multiple different businesses around the Greater Manchester area with their HR needs, including recruitment. Today I'd like to talk you through a couple of things that may be beneficial to you. Namely, what COVID-19 has taught businesses about transferable skills. Essentially, businesses, especially those across the Greater Manchester area, are having to adapt to a situation that they never thought that they would find themselves in. COVID-19 has taught them many, many lessons, which I'm sure they will be utilising in business moving forward. Namely, they are that they need to trust the people that work for them. We have seen that businesses have had to respond incredibly quickly to the restrictions on social distancing and which workplaces have had to close or even just change the way that they're completing business every single day. We've seen that employees have had to take home thousands of pounds worth of equipment to be able to adapt their working day to working from home. And we're also seeing that true flexibility is having to make an appearance in the working day. No longer are people completing the regular 9 till 5. We're seeing that people are completing split days where they're doing a bit of work in the morning, supporting the kids in the afternoon, picking things up in the evenings. Ultimately, they've had to adapt. And this is something that a lot of people are now learning, that the things that scared them before about being able to operate in a high functioning workplace have changed, and they can change for the positive moving forward. Now, businesses have noted that the power in their operation is solely through the people that work there. Without those people, they wouldn't have a business to continue working with. Machinery, offices, warehouses, all of these kind of places are either seeing that they can't work without the people that are there, or that they are now immaterial. It's the people that are keeping things going. And that's where businesses are starting to review the actual talent that they have in their workplace. Ultimately, what we're seeing is kind of like a thrive situation. A lot of people who are now working from home or working in alternative kind of environments are either showing the skills that they have and that can really support the business through this change, or they're seeing where the key development areas are. We've also noted that some businesses have spotted that they no longer need the outlays that they've been having previously in relation to offices or maintenance, because people are able to work differently. So therefore they're saving money, and in some cases they're looking now to where they can invest that to enhance this way of working in the future. And that's where you come in. As a HR consultant, part of my role is to support businesses in the recruitment for new roles, and that brings me in contact with a lot of people and a lot of CVs. I think over the last 6 months I probably reviewed near on 600 different CVs for multiple different roles, and that puts me in a position where I can help kind of guide you into where your transferable skills will fit into the roles that businesses will be advertising for both now and in the future. So, transferable skills. These are things that are often overlooked. We tend to think that the only experience somebody has is whatever job role they've had in the past, or whatever kind of education they've had, and that's not the case. For example, I'm a HR consultant now. When I joined HR, I didn't have any qualifications. I was an ex-prison officer. I had been out of work for 2 years because I left the prison service to be able to have my son. And I needed somebody to take a chance on me, and luckily that happened. And some of you may be finding yourself in a similar sort of situation to that, and that's where the skill to be able to sell yourself and the transferable skills that you have comes into play and is really, really important. So When we talk about transferable skills, these are things that you may have learned in your day-to-day life that can transfer into the business world. So things such as organisation, timekeeping, preparation, all of these kind of things are sought after skills that usually take years and years to be able to develop in a workplace environment. Most businesses, when they are advertising for new roles to be fulfilled, tend to base their job descriptions and their skill requirements on competencies, and this is something that we often forget when we're reviewing or rewriting our CVs. Competencies are pretty generic across different types of businesses, and a quick search on Google will bring you up regular competencies that are used for specific job titles. So no matter what role it is that you're out there searching for, whether it be working in a supermarket or whether it be the commercial director of a business, there will be information that's available at your fingertips to find what kind of competencies are able to support you in that role. One of the key bits of resources that I'm going to be using throughout this blog is from careersmart.org.uk, who offer multiple different competencies available that most job boards have noticed are being used regularly. What I would like to do is kind of test some of those competencies and get you thinking about how your transferable skills can match into those, even if you haven't been working for a long time, if you've taken a number of years out to look after children or people that are dependent on you. And this is where you can then move those skills into what businesses are going to be looking for. What I've done is taken 3 of the most common types of competencies that most businesses use, whether they're customer facing or not. And they are customer orientation, analyst and problem solving, and interpersonal effectiveness. What we're going to do is break down each point and then establish what skills you may have right now that transfer into those roles. So, to start with, let's start with customer orientation. So this has 4 key points that employers will look for, and that's identifies customer need and recognises constraints, seeks to find out about customer and their requirements and provide a better service, adopt professional approaches, and be reliable and deliver on the promises that they give. Now, a key to understanding that competency from your perspective is quite simply removing the word customer. It doesn't matter if your customer is your child, is a member of your family that you care for, is your neighbour. It doesn't matter. What matters is the service that you are able to deliver that person. So let's use the example of a parent. Now, identifying the need and recognising constraints. If we look at COVID-19, we no longer have school, so therefore we're having to do homeschooling. So identifying the need of your child is identifying that they require routine, that their education is something that is incredibly important and needs to be looked at, and also requiring what it is they need on a daily basis to be sustainable. So things like diet, hygiene. Recognizing the constraints of those is now more important than ever. So things like recognizing that they haven't got a school to be able to do their curriculum. So how can you fill that gap? You're not able to give them the same kind of diet that they had before because some of the things aren't available in the shops, or we're not able to get to the shops as easily to be able to get to provide them. In the realms of hygiene, well, that's pretty much stays the same, hopefully. However, it may be more of a challenge because your child is out of their normal routine when they may get up and brush their teeth first thing, or they may have a bath every single night. Your routine has been pushed out of that window. So how have you been able to maintain that routine with the restrictions that are in place? That is an important transferable skill. Were you able to create timelines to be able to support your child, to make sure that they are having everything that they need under the restraints that we've been put under? Seeking to find out about customer and provide better service. So in this example, if we use a member of our family that we care for, say it's a grandparent, for example, they may have a condition which affects them every single day, such as dementia. Therefore, what we need to do to be able to support that person in the best possible way is understand dementia and how that's going to affect them, and how we can recognise different signs to show how that person is going to be reacting on a day-to-day basis, and therefore how we need to change our way of dealing with things to support that person better. By doing that, we tick off that requirement of the competency. We're able to react to the situations that are put in front of us to be able to put the care of somebody else in the limelight, essentially. The third point, adopting a professional approach. Well, most of you that are parents will know the parent voice when discipline's coming into play. For those of you that are carers, know when they need to be able to talk through things as a family member and when they need to talk things through as a carer, and the difference between the two. For example, if you're struggling to get somebody to go out for some form of exercise, you may use bargaining techniques such as, come on, we'll go for a walk to the shop, and then afterwards we'll come home, we'll have a nice brew and we'll watch Loose Women, or whatever it is in that day. And you're bargaining with that person to be able to ensure that they are still getting the care that they require, but it is on their terms. That is adopting a professional approach, and it can be adaptable in the workplace. The last point of reliable and delivering on promises, this is where you need to be kind of communicating the things that you do on a day-to-day basis that ensures that the things that you require are being done, or the things that you say that you are going to achieve are done. So for example, if you have had to do a specific course to help care for somebody, and you needed to manage that within your restraints of caring for that person at the same time, how did you manage your ability to complete both? Those kind of skills are what businesses are needing. And even though it may sound that they are solely focused on justifying the time that you've spent out of the workplace, what you're actually doing within your transferable skills is explaining that you can adapt those into the workplace. Your next competency, to give you a kind of idea, is analysing and problem solving. This again has 4 points to it. So the ability to identify and separate the key components of problems and situations, able to manipulate and interpret information from a range of different sources, spot patterns and trends and deduce cause and effect from each of those, and generate a range of creative solutions to evaluate and choose which route you will take. Now again, depending on the situation that you're in, there will be examples where you have had to do all 4 of those points. Maybe not all at the same time, but certainly throughout your living day. Being able to identify and separate the key components of a problem, again, using the coronavirus example, going shopping. Some shops, such as Sainsbury's, aren't allowing families to enter. It's only one person at a time. You may be a single parent and have 2 children. How do you make that change? How are you able to get the things that you need to get when there is a problem that you may not easily be able to get round? What was your thought process in doing that? Was there somebody that you could rely on? Were you able to look at different tools that are available, such as online shopping, or maybe changing the way that you had previously done things, like going to a different shop? Being able to manipulate and interpret information from a range of sources. Again, if you've got somebody that you're caring for and they're scared of the medication that they've now been prescribed, and they're worried about how that's going to impact them, you might have to do a little bit of research into what the symptoms are, speak to the doctor about ways to encourage them to take that medication, or maybe you've had to be inventive in the way that it's taken. Those are all ways to interpret information that you receive from multiple different bodies and use it to your advantage to be able to support your project, your person. Spotting patterns and trends to deduce cause and effect. Well, for any parent, that's a common one. You kind of regularly try to identify when it is that your child is going to start showing some form of change in their behaviour because of the situation that we're in. For example, we've been in lockdown now for 5 weeks. It's got to the 5-week point, and this is where my son is now starting to struggle and is like, Mum, I'm bored. I don't want to do this anymore. And it's like, right, I could see this coming because he was spending less time doing the work that I was assigning to him. He was starting to see fortnight creeping in a lot more. His sleeping pattern starting to get a little bit more raggedy. How did I spot that, and what have I done to be able to change it and get it back on track? It may be the case that you have to review the whole situation again and build something new. It might be the case that you have to be innovative with what you're doing and try and build in a bit of technology. Or it might be the fact that you just had to give him a little bit of time and revisit it in the future. All of those kind of things is about spotting the trends of a change and then adapting to be able to fix it moving forward. The final point on analysis and problem solving is generating a range of creative solutions to evaluate and choose what to do moving forward. Now, again, this may be where your schedule of time is restrained massively. You might have a hectic family life as well as caring for somebody at the same time. How do you balance the two? Now, each of that answer will be individual to absolutely everyone. However, if you think about things that you do, such as you plan your day, you use a diary, you try and build in time if something goes wrong, so that you've got a little bit of leeway, so you're not on such a tight tether of your timeline. All of those kind of things are really important and show how you're able to problem solve. The last competency we'll look at is interpersonal effectiveness. Now, this one only has 2 points, and that is able to influence the views and behaviours of others through persuasion and encouragement, and manages conflicts or other sensitive issues tactfully and effectively, being able to adapt the behaviour to a wide range of people. So the first point, able to influence the various behaviours or views of others. That, again, you do this every single day. You are able to take somebody who may be struggling, either mentally or physically, or have challenges mentally or physically, and you're able to get something positive out of it. Whether that's you being able to support them in the care that they need, or you being able to end the day and say, yeah, I've achieved something today. You do that through the conversations that you have with people and the way that you adapt the way that you speak. So you'll speak to your children differently to what you will speak to a parent. You'll speak to a teenager different to how you'll speak to a toddler. You'll speak to somebody with learning difficulties differently to somebody who hasn't. So how do you know when to change that? It's down to empathy and being able to show empathy in the way that you deal with situations is something that's very, very sought after in the business world. The last point of managing conflicts or other sensitive issues tactfully and able to adapt the behaviour to a wide range of people. Again, you do it all the time, but because you do it all the time, you don't recognise it as a skill. If you've got a number of kids in the house and brothers and sisters fight over toys and stuff like that, how do you deal with that situation? How do you get them children understanding that behaviour is not right? This is what you need to do moving forward. How do you teach them that skill? The other thing is, obviously, if you're caring for somebody and they may have good days or bad days, or they may decide that one day they don't want to do what you've got planned out, but you know that it's vital, it's like going for an appointment. How do you persuade that person that it's the right thing to do and get them to that appointment? All of those kind of things, when you look at competencies, the key is being able to relate it to the things that you do every single day. Now, writing those things down is a really good way of being able to work your way through that competency list. But being able to transfer that to the CV is something that's very, very important. Now, whenever you look at a CV, it should be a representation of the person who submitted it. Therefore, it should be your personality on a piece of paper. You can, if you are documenting that you have a career gap on your CV, you should use bullet points to identify these competency-based skills that you've learned during that time, and be able to give a very, very short example of why. So for example, if you were using the interpersonal effectiveness, you would be able to bullet point, I am able to support people at a high level dependent on their individual needs. That ticks all the boxes in regards to that first point. It doesn't give too much information away in regards to what you were doing during that career gap, but it does fulfill the fact that you are able to have challenging conversations and get a positive outcome. For anybody who is seeking any particular help in communicating transferable skills on their CV, us at Altum HR are able to support you with that. Feel free to drop us an email, which will be attached to the broadcast, and we can help you through any ideas that we have that can support you further. But please recognise the fantastic job that you do every single day. Returning to work isn't something that is easy to do. However, don't forget the fantastic things that you can offer a business through the skills that you've learned for caring for another. I hope this has been useful. Thank you.